This video will focus on Purrita, my cat, and you might have seen her featured in some of my videos. I'm going to explain where she came from, her long story of how we struggled to bring her back to the United States, and essentially all the places that, she's been to since then, and how she just instantly became my favorite cat that I've ever had. So, one day in Beijing, this happened November 2019, I went to go buy a burrito down the street in Beijing. I lived in a very populated area, and there was lots of restaurants and lots of shops, including pet shops. So we went into one of the pet shops. Everything is pink. They sold pigs, they sold cats, they sold dogs, they sold hamsters, literally everything. We went in there and didn't expect to actually buy anything, and then I saw her little face and realized that I wasn't gonna leave without her. So that was when we decided to just purchase her. She cost 10,000 RMB. Sorry, not 10,000 RMB. I don't know what I'm talking about. She cost 2,000 RMB, which is the equivalent to like $300 or so. $250, $300. And I took her to the vet immediately. She had to get some work done, some of her shots, and they told me she had some type of cold, so she had to get medicine for that. And she just seemed to be like the sweetest little cat, and just really happy, and just very different from other cats that I've owned. She was very, very playful at night, and she wouldn't let me sleep a lot of the nights. But eventually she learned how to calm down after like 3 years. This is still her as a kitten. We were still in Beijing, and we got her right before the coronavirus struck. And then after the coronavirus, I decided to purchase tickets and to just take her home with us. Unfortunately, at that time, pets were not allowed on the plane rides. They were not letting any pets, be flown out of China or to China. And so we decided to stay longer until those regulations weren't as strict, because it wasn't an option to leave her behind. So we found out in July of 2020 that there were some flights that were leaving out of Shanghai that allowed pets to be flown out. And so we booked the flight July of 2020, and I got her paperwork done in Beijing, her little passport as well, which was, she needed a certificate that showed she had her rabies shots and some other vaccines. And by the time we got to the airport, first of all, we had to fly her out from Beijing to Shanghai, and that cost about $300 because she had to take her own little flight, and she wasn't allowed to go on our flight, unfortunately, because that flight didn't let pets travel on there. She had to go as cargo, unfortunately, and she made it safely to us at our Shanghai hotel, and it was just really, it was a traumatic on her because that was her first flight ever. And obviously she didn't know what was happening, but she made it there okay. All of this footage here was in Beijing. She was just extremely happy and playful. And then in Shanghai, when we took her to the new hotel, it took her time to get used to it, but she did get used to it. And then finally, we were ready for our flight back to the United States. So at that time, we packed up all of our things. We packed her up to get ready for this really long flight. I had, made sure that I had all of her paperwork in order. So I thought, and then we get to the airport. They're checking our documents. They check her documents. And they said that because her paperwork was done in Beijing and not Shanghai, it was not valid. and that she would have to see the local doctor there in Shanghai, which is the national pet vet that had to certify her vaccines. And it would be another passport that she would have to have, another paper, more documents, and the ones that she had were not the right ones. This process takes a month. So when a cat gets their rabies shots, it takes 30 days for the rabies shots to go into effect. So right at that 30-day mark, I had to take her back to get all the paperwork stamped and finalized. And it can't be a day sooner or a day after the 30-day mark. Then exactly, I think it's 48 hours before your flight, you have to go and get all that other stuff finalized as well. That document is only good for about 2 days. And to book these flights, back at that time, you would have to do it months in advance. And unfortunately, because only 3 pets are allowed per flight, you would have to be one of the first ones to say, hey, I got a pet. So this was our life in Shanghai. We were ready to leave. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. So we decided we had to stay in Shanghai another year. So we did end up staying in Shanghai. And after 1 year, we got all the paperwork finalized. We decided to live there and work there for a year. But 1 month before the flight, I had to start preparing all of this stuff exactly 30 days before, as well as all of her documents and paperwork. And we finally, I was to the point where I didn't know what to do, but it did work out. And we finally were able to bring her back to the United States. Since then, she's been living with me here in Victoria, and she's just been enjoying everything. She seems really healthy. When we did take her back, when I brought her back to Texas, she got fleas. She never, ever, ever had fleas in Shanghai or in China, and I did have to give her treatments for that. But she's been so healthy and so happy ever since. I just worry about her because her fur is it's really thick. And it's perfect for the weather in Beijing where it snows and it's freezing. But here in Texas, it's very hot. So she is an indoor cat. She has not stepped foot outside. So we do keep it in the 60s, 70s inside. So she's as happy as can be. And she's about 4 years old now. And she's just as playful as ever. She just loves playing inside boxes. She loves playing with strings. She just loves playing in general. She's a very, very happy cat. And she brings me so much joy and peace and happiness overall. And I couldn't be more thankful for a pet in my life, such as Purrita. I would have easily stayed in China another year if it meant that I could be with her. And, I don't regret having to do that because she was the prize and she's worth every second that I get to spend with her. She has a lovely personality. She's just kind and comforting. She has never scratched me. She's never bit me. She doesn't even growl at me. She's just all love and sweet. And she's just a blessing for sure. Other than that, she did get fixed at 6 months old. I took her to, she goes regularly to the vet. She has all of her paperwork and her vaccines, and she is just as happy as a clam. She does not get along well with other cats because she thinks she is the queen bee, and she is the queen bee. But when we put her together with my boyfriend's cat, she just cannot stand if we give the other cat any attention. She has to be the one who is just constantly getting our attention and love. And I get that. I can show her my love and attention all day just because she is adorable and just so cute and precious. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. This is just the story of Purrita and why she is so precious and lovable.